You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And any moment that we get indication that Parliament Appointments Committee is commenced the vetting of the nominees, we know that the Attorney General designate, Gloria Kufu, will appear, Ambrose Derry will appear. Anytime we get information that they are about to start, that is when today's news file will end. My guest in the studio, Professor Ken Ajuman Atefa, Dean, Central University, Faculty of Law and Criminologist. Also, Dr. Asante is with the CDD. George Nee is MP for...
You're finding it difficult to mention Nenyi.
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 N-E-N-Y-I.
All right, George Nenyi is MP for Ewutu Senya West. And also, George Law is former MP for the North Dai constituency. He was also a member or the ranking on the Constitutional Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. Now, let me read some of the messages that you have sent in. Then we would hear from them on the issues and how the NPP has reacted to the takeovers. And then we will also, that one will deal with that quickly. And then we'll move to matters that have come up regarding the economy and monies that have been spent in ways that give cause for concern. We are talking about the 4.5 million monthly that is gone to AfriWave from the state in a way that questions are being raised. Electoral officers are chasing the EC for their unpaid allowances. We hear issues about that. The Hajj board, we are told, has left behind 23 million Ghana cedis debt on the government. Now, here are some of your comments. Musa Abator in Kumasi says, why should a common lawyer swear in a president when the Constitution of Gambia states that the president-elect shall be sworn in a public place and in the capital city of Gambia? Though I am not supportive of Yaya Jammeh, I think the ECOWAS should have helped use the court to get him out. They should invade northern Nigeria to help eradicate Boko Haram. Okay, so you are talking about a perfect situation. It's not a perfect situation, and that's why the lawyer, the president of the Gambian Bar Association, swearing in Adama Barrow, is recognized by the international community and ECOWAS as well. Ibrahim Kopa in Tamale says, Yaya Jammeh should not be trusted a bit for his latest comments to step down. He is someone who is vested with a flip-flop attitude and can easily change his decision. Power certainly belongs to the good, we wanted to say the good people, and it's non-negotiable. Oliver Bamba in Salega says the minority MPs on the vetting committee were in a comfortable lead to vet the ministerial nominees, but ended up being vetted. On a more serious note, the chairman should give the minority enough space to bring out the best of the nominees by allowing some of the questions that they were asking. Michael Amening in the UK says Yaya Jammeh has been so wicked to the people of Gambia for the past 22 years, and he doesn't need the sympathy and protection of his safety. Okay, and ill-gotten wealth. Those are some of the messages you are sending in. And Nana Yabua Esiama says, what am I hearing from these NDC confused, humiliated, who were defeated? That Nanado should have evacuated people from Gambia before committing troops? Did the late President Mills evacuate Ghanaians from Cote d'Ivoire when people were being slashed and killed? What did we hear? G. Ufiasem literally means mind your own business. Okay, so we are back to the politics of equalization, isn't it? Then Akanyire Maxwell says, that the vetting so far so good. When the CVs of nominees were read, I have an understanding that we are going to have a very competent and selfless leaders that will not shortchange our limited resources to friends and family members, leaders who are to serve, not to be served, and more importantly, a term that will take Ghana from its current state of affairs to an industrial economy. Congratulations to the Honorable Dominic Nitiwo. Okay. Dominic Nitiwo, who had his CV all over the place. Now, also from JB in Sawam, you are supporting what we are just about to discuss. Okay, he said, I don't support the seizing of government properties, but NDC party should be the last party in this country to talk about violence. They have no locus. I rest my case. So you are supporting what the MPP just said. I read just two more messages, and this is Jesse Buako. He says, I commend the 4 ministers who appeared at the vetting committee yesterday in Parliament, Osafo Maafo, Kandapa, Kenoforiata, and Dominic Nitiwo, who performed creditably well beyond reasonable doubt, that they have quality and have acquired the requisite experience to work in their respective ministerial positions. Okay, so cut the insult that you brought in there about other persons. Efo Newton says that some of the questions being asked by the majority side of the House is never a function of ability to perform, but rather a test of eloquence. Ata Owusu Bright says, I think the vetting committee must be devoid of politics. I suggest it should be outsourced to a private, and competent HR entity. Thank you for your messages. Maybe this last one from Nana Yao Frederick Esiedu says, so far so good. I didn't like Honorable Ajua Safo's demeanor and Muntaka asking the chair to respect himself. That was very low. Thank you for your comments there. Now, as you may be aware already, the NPP organized a news conference, and at which it announced to journalists that the NDC does not have the moral right to question the seizing of toilets and toll booths and so on. And we want you to hear this quickly, and then we'll come and deal with that issue briefly.
You see, our colleagues in NDC have been pouring unprintable words on Nana Addo Dankwa when he was a flag bearer, making unacceptable, uncivil, uncouth, uncultured, unfortunate comments about Nana Addo. Sometimes when leadership of the party has taken even decision to suspend some of our leaders, they will just bundle everything and conclude that it is Nana Addo who has instigated some of us. But that is not it.
Will the president ever speak on this publicly?
Oh, do you expect the president to speak on this? Yeah. The president, before he was even inaugurated as the president, condemned it. We have been condemning such acts of lawlessness. So what else? What again?
Well, that was before he was inaugurated as president. And indeed, when he spoke, all of that stopped. But we're expecting that now that all of these have come up again, the president would speak to address.
Speaking for myself, I don't think. Consistently, persistently, the president has condemned such lawlessness. So what else?
Wouldn't it add much weight to it for the president to speak to that?
I beg to differ. Look, the accusations have all been leveled against MPP as a party.
All right. So Nana Obri Boahen, he spoke at that press conference, and after that he was interviewed by Joy News, and that's what you just heard. And as we know, an MPP vice chairman and his wife in the Brong-Ahafo region have been arrested. Some other people too have been arrested. Well, those arrests in the Brong-Ahafo region were about some public toilets that they wanted to take over. The NDC has petitioned foreign missions over the attacks. They have sent a petition to some of the foreign missions over the attacks, and the NPP is simply saying, also asking the police that they should be even-handed with their sympathizers. Obri Boahen did say that at the press conference. He seemed to have suggested, or said very clearly, not suggested, that the police seem to find their ability to act when it concerns the NPP, but when it's about the NDC, they don't seem to want to work. Right, and then the NPP's invisible forces, Freddie Blay, you have heard him, the acting national chairman, says that they are not a vigilante force. We have heard also suggestions that the NPP should sack Sefasata, the PR of the police, and Mr. Kudelo, because they are moles for John Mahama. And that is the NPP's Sir John Kojo also free is saying that he actually says they will sack these people. So what exactly is going on, George?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that I need to put the Deputy General Secretary's comments within the right content or context. The Deputy General Secretary commended the police for their interventions. He further condemned all acts of lawlessness. He then went further to confirm that His Excellency the President had previously commented on the issue. What then he said was that the police should be even-handed in addressing this situation going forward. Okay, I think that we are taking away the real substance of his message and focusing on a small aspect and probably blowing it out of I mean, making a big deal out of it. Nobody who is in his right frame of mind would support any act of lawlessness in the country. And we have stated that position clearly. We are respecting and believing that the Ghana police will do what is required. You may think that these people are MPP members, okay? Until these people are convicted, we cannot tell that indeed they have done wrong. But we've all heard of some of these situations that are going around. People seizing public toilets, people seizing toll booths, and we have said that right is right, wrong is wrong. And in this situation, we believe that it is wrong, and whoever it is that is doing it must put a stop to it. However, without trying to equalize, but putting the situation into the right perspective, we do recall that in 2008, the current NDC chairman, who wore the red bandana and went on this press conference, indeed, he led certain individuals to the national office and went to throw out the people that were working there. At that time, was it right? It wasn't right. Okay, at that time, they didn't know that they could go and see the foreign missions and then go and report themselves to the foreign missions that indeed they had done something wrong. Let us rise above partisan politics. Okay, let us do what is right for Ghana.
You're rising above partisan politics, but you just said that you may think these are NPP sympathizers. But you just been told that an NPP chairman was arrested, he and his wife. So we know for a fact.
Samson, you are a lawyer. The fact that you arrest somebody or you invite somebody doesn't mean that the person is convicted of the crime. True or false?
That's right.
Okay, so the fact that the person has been arrested or has invited to help in an investigation doesn't mean that the person is convicted of the crime. Let us be patient, okay, and let us cross the bridge when we get there. Indeed, there are a lot of people that have been invited to the police station for various things. And at the end of the day, in police doing the investigation, they let the people off the hook. Indeed, even certain people are charged. They go to court and they are left off the hook. So let us be patient. The big issue is that let us condemn what is wrong as a nation. And let us believe in our police service to do what is right. And let us not behave like hypocrites. Okay? When it's my turn, let me behave like it is good. If it's somebody else's turn, let me behave like it is right. Okay, people are watching us, and I think that that is what we should do as a nation. Let us rise above these issues and try and put everything in an MPP box.
George, what do you say?
Well, it's interesting listening to my namesake, and he's approbating, and then at another time he's reprobating. I don't know which one.
But they are right to say that they are right to say that.
English.
But they are right to say that. Obri Boahen is right to say that the NDC doesn't have the moral standing.
You see, the
right?
point we are making, and the point that I want to make, is not about moral standing or anything like that. And George finishes on a great note. That's why I said he's appropriated and he's reprobated. What we really must be doing is that, look, we have reached a stage where we are all talking about good governance. We are talking about so many of these things that we want to espouse, to make our country greater and better. In 2000, the same thing happened. 2009, it is alleged that the same thing happened.
Yeah, right.
No, because I choose my words carefully because I did not hear. But it looks like that is what many people.
But you heard it
As for 2000, it wasn't alleged.
2000, an uncle was involved, so I could say that I knew for sure.
So I can also say an uncle was involved.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. What I'm saying is that, you see, at least in 2000, I know what happened. At least I saw in 2009, many things happened. But because I'm saying this because a particular name had been mentioned, But then, so far also, I haven't heard the person come to say, I didn't do it, being the lawyers that we are, what I'm saying.
Just a small note, in 2009, that your party had cause to officially condemn them.
Yeah,
so
very
it,
well.
it did
very
happen.
well. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That okay. No, I'm talking alleged because of the individual, but generally I've not referred that. And I've been one person who have consistently said to everybody that there is a way to go and be progressive about it. Look, when NPP comes to power or NDC comes to power, there are things that will happen anyway. Every chief executive knows that my tenure has come to an end, and at the appropriate time, through the appropriate processes, you will leave. The change of guard will happen when it must happen. What we are saying it's not proper is this issue of we have had an election, we are the victors, and therefore we rush to the streets, to do all the negative things that we shouldn't. Look, right before my eyes, where I live at Amanya, the toll booth, people were collecting toll. Then suddenly a group of people in MPP t-shirt, because my brother doesn't want us to say they are MPP people, but a group of people in MPP t-shirt and regalia comes and chase away those collecting the toll and takes over. It took the police a long time, and even when they had left, then they declared free toll. So I enjoyed 3 days of free toll, but was it the best? Was it in the interest of this country? How much revenue have we lost? And that is what we are saying. People were maimed. You saw some of the pictures on social media. People were beaten, and things like that. And even something, I don't know if it happened to you. I remember in 2000, the year 2000, and was it 2004 or something? After the declaration of results, if you were not MPP and you wanted to be safe, you had to buy an MPP regalia and hang on in your car, because when they see, I'm telling you, when they see the MPP, people hit at your car and things like that. It happened across the country. It doesn't mean that when NDC won, things like that did not happen. But the question is, should it continue or should we continue in that line? And I think that's what we are all talking about. So, great. If Nana Obri Boahen himself is saying that he's condemning let's be consistent with the condemnation. Let's not be equalizing and say that you have no moral right. Let's just educate our people to say that, look, this is not the way to go. And, in fairness, President Akufo-Addo himself condemned it when the thing started. If he hadn't started, would he condemn it? He didn't, because he had cause to know that, look, what is going on is bad.
Okay, so the issue, you and your chairman are not speaking from the same song sheet.
Listen, I'm saying that
because they organized a press conference and said they want to hear him condemn them. He has not done it.
Listen. For me,
they don't listen.
There was an official statement from the NPP saying that this must stop.
Yes.
That's not what they are talking about. They say that they want the president
you see,
to make a statement about
it. At the time that President Akufo-Addo condemned. He wasn't the president. He had not been sworn.
President-elect.
He was a president-elect at the
But
time.
Obri Boahen says that subsequently he's been at various fora and spoken against it.
I am saying that what the party was talking about, that when since he became president, they wanted to hear his voice on the matter. But for me, the most important thing, as Sam said, is that we should all learn lessons. And we should all know that all these things that we are taking over and vandalizing our state resources, and that election only means, it's like I always say that as for election, it's like a football match. Sometimes Hearts will go and play Stamford, and against the odds, Stamford will win. It doesn't mean that Stamford supporters should beat Hearts of Oak. Because tomorrow Hearts of Oak will also win. Let's learn to shake hands and say the game is over, you won. Next time I'm coming after you. That is good practice. That is standard practice. That's what we should all be doing.
Great. Doc, why do you think that this keep recurring? You see, and like the reference was already made, we had situations where the NDC chairman now, Potofi, was sacked from the NADMO office by MPP tax. Or people, that's how George, will want me to say, people believe to be MPP tax. And all of this is going on. Well, we have information that the gentleman who was arrested, vice chairman in the Tano South in the Bronga-Hafo region, was not arrested for vandalism, but for insulting the police. His wife was arrested. Okay, so we are told that he was arrested for insulting the police and not because he was involved in the takeovers. It was probably maybe his wife in that situation. Where now the NPP is accusing the police of not being, even-handed. Where do we go?
Well, first of all, actually, I'm hearing for the first time that the president, after his inauguration, had actually condemned these actions. Because I was one of the people who thought that I had not heard him on it.
And I either.
All right, and you see, it's for me and for our center, it was about the signals. We really want to break away from the past. There's a kind of politics we've done in this country that it just needs somebody to say that it is not going to happen again, and we need to start. So those baby steps. And in President Akufo-Addo's inauguration speech, he talks about the spoils of elections. That when you win election, the state assets don't become spoils. That you go and grab, like war in in the 16th century or something like that. The spoils of war. And so the fact that people at the grassroots, of course, their own motivation, I'll come to that, why that keeps reoccurring, did not heed to that and went out. They are already undermining, the kind of signal you have sent out there. So you want to make sure that discipline, no party can do its job. No government can do its job without disciplining the party. So it was important for the party itself to get control. Make sure that these groups of young men and so on, and some of it sometimes vendetta. It was done to that same person. They know that you are the one that's occupying the office. So they'll go regardless of what the party head or whatever would tell them. But I wanted...
We have heard the party chair say some of them were just protecting state property.
It wasn't stopping. There were people still doing it. But because it goes back to the kind of politics he wanted to pursue. For me, it was critical that if he has said it takes nothing away from the president to repeat it if it's necessary. All right? So, I'm hearing, as I said, that on various forums, but it is something I have kept my ear waiting to hear about it, but I've not, I have not heard that yet.
I've also heard the report from the party deputy secretary.
I thought, for example, when he went to the church service, was it 2 Sundays ago, when he was commending President Mahama about the house gate issue, that was the forum where you reminded people about why the MPP was in government and what it wanted to achieve. All right, that was he chose to talk about something different. But I also think that the MPP should not misinterpret its mandate. See, sometimes politicians are talking to themselves. They are talking, MPP is talking to NDC. This is not an MPP-NDC matter. People are tired of this kind of politics. It is crude. We know what the foundations are. But as I said, it takes one person to say, we are changing course and bring everybody else together. Because if MPP does not overcome this, you have another change in government, it will happen again. And we have not crossed that bridge. All right? So I think MPP should understand that people voted for change. Change, not just a rejection of NDC, but change in the way we do politics. It was also a vote against the political class and the kind of attitude that is been pursuing. And if you don't understand that mandate, the confidence and the support that the public have will disappear. Already you can hear the cynicisms that even the media, and if you don't get that goodwill, it will begin to undermine your efforts. So for me, that's important. But the third thing is that the installations and infrastructure that they are seizing, which has happened in the last kinds of transitions, these are critical social sector installations. The national health insurance was for us to achieve universal health care. We have not professionalized it. At a certain point at the national level, yes, we have actuaries, and at the bottom, party foot soldiers can go and occupy those places. You cannot run the NHS like they run in the UK with that. That is not also going to solve your unemployment problem.
So that's part of the problem.
We have had youth unemployment since 2000, national youth employment, we changed it, JEDA, all of that stuff. What has happened to our unemployment situation? So if these are and we spent huge amounts of money. If we don't resolve that, we are not going to be able to address our unemployment problems. We are not going to address our health care problems. So how are we going to ensure that we insulate these kinds of agencies from partisan, control and capture, which has become the order of the day? That is critical going forward. All right. And so for me, Maslock is another one. National Service Secretariat is another one. These are all very important. There's teaming on young people out there. How are we using national service to aid transformation? So for me, going forward, what actually has been the positive in this transition is that the senior foot soldiers level at the presidency ministry, because of the Transition Act, that has been sanitized. All right. There are some issues around the economic, at the ministries, how do you transfer? Also at local government, we have to address that. But we don't have any system at that level, at the bottom, of how you transition, cocoa board, all of those areas. So I think it is an opportunity to either look at the Transition Act again, that if we can also develop the same kinds of mechanisms and structures to address the bottom level, the party foot soldiers, then it will address that. But one last point about party foot soldiers. We know that a lot of people join political parties because they're expecting a reward at the end. The party is supposed to capture state assets, and therefore they will benefit from it. A lot of them, you look at various studies, that is why people join political parties. Now, if we don't cure that, then that entitlement will continue to be applied every time you have a transition, because now people are going to go and get their rewards. So that is a much more structural problem that we have to try to deal with.
Okay. Prof, it does appear there are those who feel the MPP even suggesting and saying that, we have issued a statement calling on our members not to do this, and that the police should arrest anybody who does that. They are not being sincere about it, because why? The youth leader has been on record to have said that when we win power, you just go take positions. Whoever is there, sack them, grab a stick, hit them and get them out of the place. We have had Freddie Blake now saying that some of them are actually protecting public property and that they should not be deemed to be doing anything wrong. How do you juxtapose that with you know, the statements and comments that enough is being done to stop it? And why the seeming reluctance on the part of the president to reinforce, if he's already said it, to reinforce and emphasize that this ought to stop?
Well, thank you very much. I'm one of those people who said very early on that the police must wake up and do their job. And I still maintain that police indolence in the past has contributed significantly to the current state of affairs. They have failed to live up to their expectations or their duties under law. They failed to do that when the baton changed from NDC to MPP, and when it changed from NPP to NDC. And the highest point, in my view, was when they stood by and watched right at Nima before the elections, when Nana Akufo-Addo's house, then presidential candidate, was under attack. That was the failure, the high point of it. And so when the transition, the change came about, the police felt tied. They couldn't suddenly make the change to protect those people that they were failing to protect, and to defend the NDC, because it is like whoever is in power is the one that we have a duty to serve. And that's a critical failure in police thinking and police operations. That's number one. Number two, the kinds of rhetoric of denials, rhetoric of justification that we have seen from sections of the MPP leadership are also unfortunate. But they derive from the long-term view that you've done it to us, and we must also do it to you. But more importantly, it fits into three principles that I see underpinning this whole foot soldier things. The first is that a lot of people see foot soldier activity, they themselves being involved in political parties, as a pursuit of profit and pleasure. It is part of that whole old Kwame Nkrumah dictum, at least a caricature of it: seek ye first the political kingdom, and the rest shall be added unto you. So when you seek the political kingdom and you capture it, then it is state capture, and all the economic facilities and installations must be at your beck and call, and whoever is in your way must be pushed away. And that's what has been happening. The second principle is the idea of, or the principle of anti-corruption. You know, when you see, for example, demands for accountability and transparency, we want on the part of foot soldiers from public officers. There was even in 2010, the foot soldiers in Wa actually seized procurement boxes, because they believed that the process was itself flawed ab initio, and that it was just a state managed. So they seized it, they tried to stop this otherwise legitimate, because the Procurement Act was just being made farcical. The third thing is the demand for justice. You know, we don't go sit down. It's the same ethos. And that demand for justice is the same as, well, you've done it to us, and I'm not talking justice in a positive sense. Negative is vengeance. Now, sure, this has to end. Spoils of war is the perception. It also reflects a lack of confidence that things will change. So those youth, even if Nana Akufo-Addo were to say, stop it. Now, and as far as I'm concerned, when he said at his inaugural address that we must be magnanimous and celebrate in consideration and all of those things, people heard him. It was one moment in the history of this country that perhaps every single... That was
not his inaugural address.
No, not inaugural.
Yes.
I mean, sorry, at the
house.
The concession, when he was accepting
the victory speech.
The victory speech.
Right.
I think it was one moment that virtually every Ghanaian listened to the person, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And I think that that message went sound and clear, and people heard it. But the reality, you were talking about juxtapositioning. If you juxtapose the invitation, the injunction to restrain from evil, against the reality of the enticement, here are public toilets, here are booths that are sources of money. people who are our implacable enemies are controlling those assets or facilities. 8 years ago, they drove us forcibly away from it. The clarion call by Nana Akufo-Addo will not resonate in the hearts and minds of those foot soldiers to let them dissuade from doing it. That is why, in my view, it is still the foremost duty of the police to do what they have to do. If the police were to arrest, properly arrest, and
well, they've started arresting.
if they were to sternly enforce the law, and the Attorney General were to ensure that no nolli prosequis are entered in cases where criminality is established by proper investigation, we would see an end to this. And Nana Akufo-Addo, as president, will not stop. Will not stop the police from doing their job. Police indolence lies, in my conclusion.
Yet another justification for the independent prosecutor, right?
Yes, another.
But I agree with
Because if the police will not act, or they might attempt and give, a semblance of acting, but will not pursue with commitment, in the end, their dockets will end on the Attorney General's desk, who has to advise prosecution. And if the Attorney General is going to prosecute her own, that's going to be another difficult situation.
Yeah, but you see, something, the thing is, and I agree with Doc about the police. The thing is, but the question is now who caused them? We have politicized even our police service to the extent that it is we or them.
Okay,
And
so
that
let
is-
him
and that is
finish
where-
his final point.
Yeah, that is where the problem
let him
is.
finish his final point and then...
So, related to a point he made, and the idea that, and I hope I'm quoting right, he said that, Honorable Low, that every chief executive knows his term has come to an end and that he must leave. Well, that's not necessarily correct. It shouldn't be so. This perception is what generates all that mass anxiety. And some presidents in the past have acted wrongly in dismissing people or in terminating the appointments of people who were heading statutory bodies or state institutions, but were not appointed as in accordance with the law. If you look at Act 845, and of course it has come into since 2012.
Presidential Transition Act.
Presidential Transition Act, Section 14(1) of it. On the assumption of office of the person elected as president, a person holding any of the offices specified in the schedule shall cease to hold that office. And when you look at the schedule, I think where we got, it's obvious that persons holding office under the Presidential Office Act, ministers, deputy ministers, those are clear. But the problem area is 6 of subsection 6 of section 14. Persons appointed by the president or a minister of state as members of statutory boards and corporations. There are chief executives who are not appointed under this, who were appointed by the Public Services Commission. And they should not have the anxiety of leaving office, and they should not be dismissed. They, you may want to transfer the person, you may want to do job rotation, you may want to do any number of things. But this is part of the problem that has to stop. I think that President Akufo-Addo has a unique opportunity on the platform of change that he, and the high tide of it, that he has ridden to office, to make a clean break from the past. And I think he can do it by the kinds of appointments he makes, the assurances that he gives to the general public that people will have the assurance, the peace of mind that I'm not going to be kicked out simply because I was appointed during the era, unfortunately, of NDC. Unfortunately, the broad majority, if not all appointments made during the NDC era were of people who were NDC persons. And even as low as I know from where I used to be, National Identification Authority. Now, people who you were perceived not to be NDC, then you didn't have, you were not welcomed. And you were treated in such a manner that, they go on field work, and that is what gives them morale and a little bit of income. And such people are excluded. And exclusion is one of the most painful things for the human being to endure. We have an opportunity to make
What should the president say when some of his own, like Kwejo Osefrie, the former General Secretary of the NPP, declares straightforward that people like Sefa Satha, Kudalo will be sacked, and he makes no words about it. Yeah. What should the president be saying? Because does it send the right signals in the first place, Prof?
Well, it doesn't. But I mean, there's that rhetoric of pacification out there in the public domain that people like Sir John,
yes, Sir John, yeah.
also free. Some party apparatchiks may make commentaries or statements. They do not necessarily represent official party position or government policy. And the fusion of party and government is one of the problematic areas of our governance system. I think that the president's subsequent conduct, the kinds of choices he makes, the appointments and all of that, and whether or not, is what will reflect whether or not he endorses this kind of conduct or commentary. Those are rhetorics of pacification. They pacify the MPP foot soldiers. They make them feel that, all of that. But if indeed the IGP and Cephas Arthur have also acted manifestly in a partisan manner, then as a state that wants to ensure professionalism, such people ought to know that they ought to be facing a different direction.
Let me add to this. You see, I think the MPP would have to strike a balance. This, I talk about attitudes. The party itself has to change. The foot soldiers, their mindset, you cannot have a parallel system where the foot soldiers can remain in their old mentality about the sports and facing up to the NDC and all of those things, and then the president also having a different kind of orientation. You are speaking to the same audience, which is the people of Ghana.
Right.
So they are listening to Mr. Obri Boahen
at the same time,
and then
all of those people.
You create confusion in people's mind that, oh, this is new. They will say, oh, well, it's business as usual. So no, it is important because I think if we don't do that, we will not be able to do this transition.
But where they suggest that there may be justification, for example, where you have a CEO who was appointed by the president, or even if he were appointed by the Public Services Commission, engineered by the political party, the parties will get to know, and they will know that you are there serving the interests of the party that is going out. And then in the dark of the night when you are just about to hand over, they are hearing stories that you are recruiting and you are doing all of these
things. And there are many stories like that.
The party incoming will fold their arms and watch their hoodlums to take you.
The president has the IGP under. If the president wants to go and secure Cocoa Board, are you telling that the president cannot order for Cocoa Board to be secure so that somebody is not shredding papers at night?
No, but he's talking of something that is not so
manifest. I understand the motivation. Why people like, oh yeah, they are doing something, so we have to go and protect it.
At least yesterday we heard Yao Safo Mafo, who was very clear that some of these, when they discovered that you were appointed, you were appointed after the elections, you get ready to...
But you see, that is why I keep saying that the opportunity will come for a decision to be made on you. And therefore,
so the parties are encouraging this. The parties as in government. We are closing about in the next minute, so quickly.
Okay, I think that we should give credit where credit is due. This is a situation where His Excellency the President has given direction. This is a situation where the party has given direction. A few people suspected to be MPP activists are doing something that is not what the direction should say. And we are here saying that MPP has a problem, Ghana has a problem. This thing happened with NDC. It happened with MPP. Let us not narrow it down to MPP, okay? We are saying, no, hold on. President Akufo-Addo has given direction. Some of you say you didn't hear. There's proof that he has given that direction. The party has given direction. Some of you say you didn't hear. There's proof. Even Obri Boahen, We have all watched Obri Boahen, and he said clearly that this thing.
Whilst he's giving direction, he's accusing the police. Why should we listen to him?
Listen, Samson. If you listen to the whole thing, he commended the police, and he asked the police to be balanced. Okay, because there are cases. I can show you a number of messages here. Okay. There are cases where the police have not acted, even in my constituency.
George,
okay, so let us not narrow it down to MPP.
Thank you very much.
We should be putting pressure on the police and then
sorry, but we have to end here. Sorry, but we have to end here. Sorry, but we have to end here.
These are the institutions that have to
You've been watching and listening to Newsfile, and my guests have been Professor Kenatefa, who is a criminologist and dean of the Faculty of Law of the Central University. Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante is Senior Research Fellow, Ghana Center for Democratic Development, the CDD. George Anda is MP Ewutu, Senior West. Well, before the elections, he was a novice who couldn't win an election. And somehow he managed to unseat colossus like the Foreign Affairs Minister, Hannah Tete. And George Lowe is former MP, North Dai, and Vice Chairman, Constitutional, Legal, and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. Used to fight with him in court over cases. Now he's back. He'll join us. All right, so I'm Samson Ladi Anyanini. We are going to Parliament for the vetting that is supposed to continue today. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming.